Now, the short answer is you can just take away pull-ups. You don't need them to build the hugest back you possibly could. Pull-ups to build gains. Now, the short answer is you can just take away pull-ups. You don't need them to build the hugest back you possibly could. But the long answer is you may be sacrificing a couple things, not necessarily the amount of muscle you're building, but a couple other things that the pull-up does bring to the table. Well, to actually build a huge back or muscle in general, what does it really take, or what causes muscle to be built in the first place? Because your body isn't taking your food, taking those nutrients to make sure you build muscle and then churn out muscle by itself. There's something actually happening there. And that something, it's the stimulus. So when you go into the gym and lift those weights, that stimulus, that's what initiates the muscle building process. But your body doesn't distinguish, or it's not able to tell the difference between stimulus from a pull-up or stimulus from a lat pull down or stimulus from a row. All it looks at is what muscles were engaged by the stimulus, so where the stimulus went to which muscle groups, and therefore where I need to take the nutrients from your food that you eat, the proteins, the carbs, the fats, mainly the proteins, take the nutrients, direct it to that muscle group that you've just hit and make it huger. So next time you'll be more prepared and better equipped to do the same weight. That's why as you progress in the gym, that initial weight becomes way too easy. You need to use heavier weights. And so because your body can't tell the difference, for your horizontal rowing, you could continue with, your T-bar row, barbell row, chest supported, dumbbell row, that's fine. When it comes to vertical pulling, well, if we were to take out the pull-up, then you could go assisted pull-up for more reps and, slow down the motion, that mind-muscle connection, or you could use the lat pull down, you could do pullovers, and in that way, you would still be hitting your lats. So good to go, aren't you? Now, theoretically, from a muscle building perspective, you should be okay. Because even though the motion of, let's just say, the pull-up, where you're going from down and you're pulling yourself up to the bar, it's different to the lat pull down, because from the lat pull down, you're taking the bar and pulling it down to you. And because of that, two different motions, even though they're both hitting the lats, the areas of the lats that they're hitting could be different. If you were to take out the pull-up, then the regions that the pull-up solely hits would be neglected. But then the counter argument would be, well, I brought in the lat pull down, so the areas that the lat pull down only hits, those which were neglected are now not. So overall, we're equal, negative, positive. In maths, that's still a negative, but here we're neutral. So what really are we sacrificing if we're taking out the pull-ups? Because aren't they like the golden exercise, compound back exercise? Why would you want to take out pull-ups? And how can you not sacrifice anything? Well, the first thing is probably to do with the strength aspect, because when it comes to back movements, for horizontal rowing, when you're going heavy, usually you can go heavy on the dumbbell row, the T-bar row, the normal barbell row. But when it comes to vertical pulling, no one really goes heavy on the machine, the lat pull down, because that's more of a higher rep mind muscle type exercise. And the go-to exercise to go heavy when it comes to vertical pulling is the pull-ups, which means you do miss out on that strength work. Now, that does not mean you lose any gains, because any set taken to, the same proximity to failure, which basically means how close it was till you were gonna fail. So if you had a set of pull-ups that you were doing for 8 reps and you could only do 2 more, you knew after those 2, so after 8 reps plus 2, if you finished the 10th rep as well, you would hit failure and you wouldn't be able to do the 11th. Would build the same amount of muscle as if you were to do 26 reps of pull-ups. So obviously for the 8 reps, you're putting on additional weight with the dip belt. But for the bodyweight pull-ups, you did 26 of those and you could only do 2 more, but after the 28th one, you were gonna hit failure. In that case, both sets would build the same amount of gains. That's right, as long as the proximity to failure, so how close you were to fail for that set, is the same, any rep range between the 5 to 30 is good to go. Same amount of muscle. But the only slight advantage with using heavier weight means you're prioritizing those fast twitch fibers. And because of that, you may be neglecting that. That might be the main sacrifice that you do end up making. And in the end, you'll be over prioritizing the slow twitch ones. Not to mention the other important thing that you'd lose, and that is your bragging rights. Because bragging rights comes with pull-ups, of course. That's all, boys. May the gains be with you, and see you in the next one.